Have you ever thought about your name? I mean, we've all got names, right? And they all come from somewhere. But where do they come from? And why is our family name important? Well, I want to talk about that today in the Family Chat with Matt. So let's go. Hello, I am Matthew, father of Connor, Ryan, and Owen, son of Robert, son of Homer. Is that kind of a weird way to introduce myself? That's what they did during Bible time. See, who you were wasn't just who you were. Who you were was who your dad was, who your grandpa was, who your kids were. Family line was so important. Imagine getting in trouble, and not only did you say who you were, you had to tell them who your dad was too. How much more trouble would you get in from your parents back then having to tell who they are every time you got in trouble? See, but this tradition was so important during Bible times that the family lines were listed out in the Bible. God wanted this to be this way. And sometimes when they listed out the people and whose fathers they were and all that, they would list out special events that happened with these people. In 1 Chronicles 27, 5 through 6, it says, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada the priest, was commander of the 3rd division of 24,000 troops, which was on duty during the 3rd month. This was the Benaiah who commanded David's elite military group known as the 30. His son, Aminadab, I'm trying to say that, was his chief officer. Can you imagine Jehoiada, his dad? How cool that is for him that not only is his son listed as this important person, but because he's the dad, he's listed. And Benaiah's son was listed as well. The whole family is incorporated because of this great thing that Benaiah did. But it went the other way too. See, in 1 Chronicles 2:7, it says, the son of Carmi, a descendant of Zimri, was Achan, who brought disaster on Israel by taking plunder that had been set apart for the Lord. Wow, what a bummer that is, huh? Can you imagine being Carmi or Zimri, and the fact that you're known forever as the dad and grandpa of Achan who brought disaster on Israel? I mean, I can't imagine that being my heritage that everybody knows about for all time because it's in the Bible. See, this family thing, this family is so important to God. So much of our identity is thrown into who our family is. You know, we may have, back in the past, we may have said son of and dad of and all this stuff, but now we have last names, and so we take the name of our father when we're born. Our identity becomes that of our dads. But why is this so important to God? Because when we choose Jesus, we are adopted into God's family. See, Galatians 4 through 7 says, but when the right time came, God sent his son, born of a woman, subject to the law. God sent him to buy freedom for us who were slaves to the law so that he could adopt us as his very own children. And because we are his children, God has sent the Spirit of his Son into our hearts, prompting us to call out, Abba, Father. Now, you are no longer a slave, but God's own child. And since you are his child, God has made you his heir. We are the heir to God. We are the sons and daughters of the God who created the universe, of the creator of 100 billion trillion stars, the one that knows every single one of them, the one that made every molecule, that made every atom, the one that makes each and every snowflake unique and different and special. We are adopted into his family to become his kids. You have been chosen as God's child. Our identity doesn't lie in our name of our earthly dad anymore. Our identity doesn't lie in the things we do or the places we've been or the gifts we have. Yeah, we still have an earthly dad, but instead of Matthew, son of Robert, I can say Matthew, son of God. See, this pumps me up to live, to make my dad honored, to make my heavenly Father know that I love him, to be the Benaiah, the one to have Matthew, son of God, do an amazing thing. Know that I am made pure through Jesus Christ, not Achan. He screwed up. I don't want to be Achan. I want to be Benaiah. I want to make sure that others are adopted into the family. I want to make sure others know about the love of Jesus, the love of God, my Father, who has adopted me into his family. But what else is cool is that we're not just kids of God the Father. No, see, we're brothers and sisters of Jesus. Hebrews 2:11 through 12 says, "So now Jesus and the ones he makes holy have the same Father. That is why Jesus is not ashamed to call them his brothers and sisters, for he said to God, 'I will proclaim your name to my brothers and sisters. I will praise you among your assembled people.'" See, so often we find our identity in our friends or in our town, maybe your school or your job. Maybe you find your identity in the gifts you have or the talents that God's given you. Maybe you find your identity in the hurt of your past or maybe in the sins you've committed. But see, that's not who we are when we choose to follow Jesus. We become a new person. We're given a new identity in our new family. It's not about our past or our present or our sin. It's that we're God's kid through Jesus Christ, through the sacrifice that Jesus made for us. So I have a question for you today. How will your heavenly dad be known through you? See, if history was written today, would God's name be honored through you? Would you be known for your love and your service? Or would God's name be dishonored through your actions and your decisions? I want to encourage you today to think of the eternal. Think of God's name that you've been given as your family name. Think of that throughout the day in each decision you make, in each action you do. Think of the image of God that you are reflecting. How is he reflected? See, today, let's live to bring honor to God through being his kid.